The creature stood at the gate of an enormous castle. Its body was cloaked in white wool. He had a black bowler hat and a purple dotted bow tie. His mouth was lined with razor-sharp fangs. Several red, veiny tentacles protruded from its body. The creature licked its blood-stained lips, then muttered to itself, "Here I am. Almost at the end. Oh, I'm in tears." He lifted his tentacle and grabbed the knocker. He then slammed it against the door. "Hello, Wally! Come on, Oculus, get your supernatural, metaphysical ass out here. I just want to talk." Shortly after, a purple vortex appeared in front of him. "Well, I did ask you to come out here, but this works too." The creature crawled inside. He then found himself in the throne room of the castle. "Lovely what you've done with the place, even more dreary than I remember." A man emerged from the shadows. He wore a gray, torn-up hood and cloak. He was very skinny, almost skeletal. His face was soaked in a green, rubbery texture. 2 tentacles dangled out from under his hood. In his right hand, he held a tree-like vine that wrapped around a purple orb. The twin appendages on his mouth swayed back and forth as he spoke. "What are you doing here, Theravis? Do you finally wish to accept rehabilitation?" Lenny snickered. "I didn't come here for a damn therapist, Oculus. You know what I want." 500 years and you continue to chase delusions, Theravis. There is no such thing as limbo. It is a myth. A mythology? Open your eyes, honey. We're living a mythology. Theravis, please. No force in the multiverse is more powerful than that of the primordial synod. Lenny lurched forward and yelled, "No, they aren't! The Great One is the most powerful. He created the synod. He created the both of us. They're just too scared to admit it." Oculus was unfazed by Lenny's sudden aggression. He replied with, "Out of every monster and murderer I faced, you, Theravis, you're far more trouble than I had realized." Lenny growled, then chuckled, then grinned a little. He seemed to be calming down, but that's when he said, I don't blame you for believing them. It wouldn't be the first time they brainwashed their servants." "Lies, Theravis. You can't manipulate me with your mind games." "Oh, come on, Aki. Haven't you ever wondered why they let me live? Why do all-powerful, all-good deities let a sick freak like me roam free?" They have their reasons. There's always a reason. Bingo! And that reason is because I'm like you. We are nothing alike, Theravis. "Oh, yes, we are, Aki. We're both useful to them. Of course, your little orb maintains the flow of reality and keeps the universe in check, while I clear out the competition. With so many worlds in the multiverse, sooner or later one will come along with advanced aliens, or an entire civilization run by wizards, and that could be a threat to the Synod's authority, and we can't have that. No, no, no. But wait. Why worry about them when little old Lenny T. Puppet is bouncing from reality to reality, wiping out whole timelines? And besides, it's not like Lenny is a big deal. He's just one little demon. He stands no chance against us." Lenny leaned forward and whispered, "Or am I?" Lenny's tentacle shot up and wrapped around Oculus's neck, then slammed him against the wall. I know their little secret. I know what they're really scared of, and once Limbo is mine, no one can stop me! He looked down at the orb in Oculus's hand. And I only need one piece left. His tentacle slithered around Oculus's arm. A burst of violet lightning pushed Lenny backwards. Oculus looked up at him and said, I won't let you take the orb. Lenny shrugged in frustration. I thought you were smarter than this. How long ago did you say the Synod freed your people? 10,000 years? 100,000? Haven't you paid your debt to them by now? Oculus lowered his guard for a moment, which was just long enough for Lenny to strike. He shot a tendril forward, stabbing Oculus through the chest. Lenny lifted up his body. Now, hand it over. The tentacles on Oculus's face quivered as black blood leaked from his mouth. Poor Lenny. The smallest change could have saved your soul. He lifted the orb above Lenny's tentacle. But now, we will both die here. A miniature storm swelled up inside of it. No, stop! Violet lightning began to generate and build up around the orb. It was burning so bright Lenny had to drop Oculus to the ground and shield his eyes with his tentacles. No! 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 His body slowly started to flake away and crumble to ash. No! Then it was all black. Lenny's eyes fluttered open. In front of him was a bright blue sky with a shining sun and chirping birds. Where am I? He thought to himself. He tried to sit up, but was immediately met with stabbing pain. Fuck, why does this hurt so bad? He then realized some of his tentacles were missing. In fact, all of them were missing. They had been replaced with 2 arms and 2 legs. Not only that, but his body was now made of flesh and blood. Real flesh and blood. No, this can't be happening, he panicked while grabbing at his own face. That's Sly? He stood up and yelled into the sky. Fuck you, Oculus! Gah! After relieving a bit of his anger, Lenny took the moment to survey the area. He seemed to be on some kind of dirt road atop a hill. The ground was blanketed with flowers, and there was even a decent-sized forest in the distance. Judging by the zone, I appear to be in a less advanced timeline. Damn it, this is worse than those wretched back rooms. He turned around and looked behind himself. There was a long, black silhouette. My shadow. It's back. It was then he felt a familiar sensation he had not felt in a long time. A low growl emerged from within him. It temporarily made his whole body feel tense and tight. Forgot how painful hunger was. I need to find sustenance. Lenny began to wander around. Then he wandered some more, but didn't find anything. God, where is everything? Is this whole timeline empty? His stomach growled again. His legs grew wobbly as he fell to the ground. He coughed dirt out his mouth. This is it. This is how I die. I've been alive for 300 millennia, burned countless worlds, and this is how it ends. I was so close to limbo, so close to nirvana, so close to Bradley. He closed his eyes and waited for the starvation to overtake him. And that's when he heard something. It sounded like a horse-drawn carriage. Could it be a sign of life? Screw giving up. That's for lower life forms, and I, Lenny T. Puppet, have never been a lower life form. With all his strength, he forced himself off the ground. He limply crawled his way back to the road. He peeked around a tree and saw the horse-drawn carriage. He tried to call out, but his mouth was too dry. Lenny could feel himself on the verge of passing out. I only got one shot at this. As he was beginning to lose consciousness, he lunged himself forward. He went face first into the dirt, and the carriage panicked to a halt at the last second. An old man with a long black and gray beard jumped out of the carriage. He immediately helped Lenny back to his feet. "You trying to get yourself killed, young man?" the traveler asked. Lenny replied, "Food. Now!" "Are you asking me if I have any?" Lenny grabbed the man's shirt collar. "Need food." All right. Wait here." The man turned around and fetched some bread out the back of his carriage. Lenny swiped it from his hand before he could even give it to him. He quickly scarfed down every last crumb of the fluffy loaf. "I haven't had bread in forever. Can't believe I forgot how good it tastes." The old man spoke. "Now, if you're done eating my stock and insulting me, I have to deliver the rest of these supplies to the next town over." The man's words gave Lenny an idea. "Say, old fellow, would you mind letting me tag along with you? I'm awfully lost and need somewhere to stay." The man squinted his eyes. "I'm not sure. You're quite the odd fellow." "Damn it, he's on to me. What did humans used to say to each other to earn their trust? Oh, I've got it. Look, sir, I'm sorry I acted so strange. I was very desperate. I was worried I'd starve to death. Please forgive me." The man considered this for a moment. Then he said, "All right, get it." "Nailed it!" Lenny climbed into the carriage, and the two were off. After a few moments of silence, the man spoke. "So, fella, you got a name?" Lenny was taken off guard by this. He wasn't sure which of his many names to tell the man. Yeah, it's, Thomas. Thomas Griffin." "And what exactly do you do, Thomas Griffin?" "Well, I'm a bit of a traveler of sorts." "Been to any interesting places?" "Trust me, you have no idea." The carriage arrived at a small town, and Thomas Griffin got off at his stop. As he was walking away, the old man stopped him. "Hey, don't I get a thanks?" "Thanks? I haven't said that word in centuries. I almost forgot it even existed." "Of course. How could I forget? Thank you, my good sir." The man smiled, then turned and rode away. Seeing that face made Lenny feel something deep inside. Bit of a giddy, fluffy feeling, almost. He wasn't sure what it was, so he shrugged it off and started to look around. He came across a humble little bread store. More food. He barged in and exclaimed, "Give me your finest bread." The shopkeeper looked over at him and said, "Okay, pal. You got any money?" Then he blinked. "Money? I don't have any of that." The shopkeeper huffed. "No money, no bread." Lenny jumped in front of the man. Wait, how exactly can I get this money stuff?" The man looked at him, bewildered by the question. "You get a job." "A job? A job, yes, a job. Can you give me one of those?" The shopkeeper thought for a moment. I guess I could use a new bread boy. How good are you at tossing dough?" Thomas squished and squeezed the dough, molding it into the shape he desired. "I've been getting pretty good at this. I guess a month of practice really does help. It almost reminds me of my shape-shifting. He popped the dough into the oven and watched as it hardened. Any moment now, I'll regain my abilities and finally finish the Odyssey. He removed the bread and smelled its sweet scent. But this minor pit stop wasn't so bad. Maybe I'll give Mr. Bowman a quick death once I enslave the multiverse. Just as Thomas was finishing his thought, Mr. Bowman walked in. Speak of the devil. Thomas, you got a minute? Of course I do, Mr. Bowman. What do you need? We're out of oil. Could you head down to the market and get us some? On my way, sir. Thomas grabbed his coat and ran out the front door. He entered the market and looked around. Oil, where is the oil? After a modest amount of searching, Thomas found exactly what he was looking for. And just in time, too. It was the last one left. But as he reached for it, another hand got in the way. He turned to the side and noticed a woman standing next to him. Oh, sorry, she said. You can take it. Thomas wanted to say, Yes, I will take it. Thank you very much. But something was holding him back. But for some reason, something about her made Thomas not want to say it. Instead, he just said, Oh, no, I don't need it that much. The woman replied, I'm sure whatever you need it for, it's far more important than me. Thomas protested. No way, my thing is about as pointless as it gets. Someone could throw a pebble across a pond and that would still be more important. Thomas's comment made her laugh. And surprisingly, Thomas did too. The woman held her hand out. Hi, I'm Sally. Thomas shook her hand. Hi, I'm Thomas. Thomas Griffin slowly awoke from his sleep. He turned over. In bed with him was Sally. To think, almost 10 years ago. He closed his eyes and smiled. The door to his room creaked open. 2 miniature silhouettes entered. One of them whispered, Papa, are you awake? He tugged on Thomas's sleeve. I had a nightmare, Papa. I did too, said the other silhouette. Thomas sat up. He turned on the lamp next to him. The silhouettes were Alice and Timothy, Thomas's children. Well, he said, no matter how bad your dreams get, no matter how scary, dreams are not reality. Thomas's kids hugged their father. But our dream was about you, Papa. Yeah, you turned into a scary monster and tried to eat us. Thomas tried to reassure the children. Hey, don't worry. That will never, ever happen. I'll make sure of it. Papa, can we sleep with you tonight? Thomas sighed. Oh, all right. He pulled back his covers to make room for the kids. They crawled in and snuggled together. Thomas leaned back and thought of what they had said. What he had said. Dreams are not reality. You turned into a scary monster and tried to eat us. There was something about these two statements. Separate they meant nothing, but together they felt almost familiar. Thomas was hiding something from his own mind. A second life. A forgotten purpose. It bothered him, not fully knowing what it was. He started to see glimpses of old memories. When he ate Penny, killed Adrian, and stabbed Oculus. He had committed billions of atrocities, and now, here he was. He got the girl and lived happily ever after. Is this really what he deserved? All these thoughts plagued Thomas's mind, but like it or not, those things happened, and now he's here. All he could do now was make the most of it. Thomas closed his eyes and fell back asleep. The next day, Thomas and his family held a picnic in the park. He and his wife sat on a red and white checkered blanket, while the children played in the grass. Thomas tried to relax, but he was still unsettled. Honey, he said to Sally, do you believe in redemption? She seemed surprised by this question. It was very out of nowhere. What do you mean? she asked in response. Well, think of it like this. What if someone did something bad, but never got punished, but at the same time they know they won't ever do it again? Are they still a bad person? So this hypothetical fictional person committed some crime and got away with it? Correct. That seems wrong. But wouldn't the guilt of knowing be punishment enough? I don't think so. Why are you asking me this? I was just wondering. Thomas stared off for a moment, pondering what Sally had told him. Was the fear of his family knowing the truth bad enough? Did his sadistic behavior deserve to be rewarded by a happy ending, while so many good people had suffered and died at his hands? Thomas was snapped back into reality by the sudden realization that he couldn't see his son anywhere. He could see Alice playing in the sand, but where was little Timothy? Sally? Where's Timothy? Sally looked around. I don't know. I don't see him. Thomas jumped to his feet and yelled, Timothy! Timothy, where are you? He started hectically searching the area, but to no success. Timothy, come out, please! With no luck, Thomas decided to search the woods. The woods gave him an eerie form of nostalgia. Eventually, he heard Timothy crying in the distance. Thomas hastily moved closer and closer to the sound. At long last, he found Timothy, stuck to a wooden log. Timothy cried out, Papa, I don't want to die! Thomas slowly moved closer. Timmy, don't be scared. Just move forward slowly. Timothy and Thomas began to steadily move closer to each other. The log cracked. Timothy shrieked, but Thomas urged him to stay calm. Timothy was almost at the end of the log, but that was when the log creaked again, this time louder. The log snapped, and Timothy plummeted downward. No! Thomas screamed as he jumped down after him. He grabbed his son and wrapped his arms around him. When they hit the ground, Thomas rolled across, then banged his head on a sharp rock. Everything after that was a blur. Thomas slowly awoke in his bed. His head was wrapped in bandages. Sally sat by him. She noticed him waking up and said, Don't move. You're still injured. Thomas blinked. And don't worry about Timothy either. He's going to be okay. Sally stood up and opened the door. Just try to get some rest, okay? She left the room and closed the door behind her. Thomas blinked some more. He was grateful to be alive, and even more so that Timothy was as well. But something was off. His head didn't hurt as much as he thought it would. In fact, his head didn't hurt at all. He rose up from the bed and turned to a mirror. He slowly peeled the long white paper off his skin. Underneath, he seemed perfectly healthy. Not a scar, scratch, or even blood. He rubbed the back of his head and didn't feel anything. It's a miracle. I'm alive. But then, a familiar voice echoed through the room. Actually, it's a tragedy, and you're dead. Thomas spun around. His eyes hectically darted around the room. Who's there? Who said that? The voice spoke again. Come on, Tommy boy. You know who it is. Thomas saw a tentacle slither out the corner of his eye. He snapped his head to the side and gazed upon the enormous monstrosity before him. It was so large it took up half the room. He fell to the floor and tried to crawl away. Lenny? In the flesh. Or should I say, in our flesh. Thomas stood up and said, No, you're not real. You're just in my head. He turned to the door, but Lenny had somehow appeared in front of it. What's the matter? Don't want to say hi to your old roomie, even after I was so excited to meet the family. Thomas lunged forward and shouted, "You stay away from my family, or I swear I will do what? You can't stop your own kid from running away. What makes you think you have the slightest chance of stopping me? You know what I'm capable of." Thomas was at a loss for words. He hung his head in defeat. Lenny was right. He had been him before. He knew from first-hand experience nothing can stop him. And besides, you're already dead anyway. Thomas looked up at Lenny and said, "What do you mean?" "When your head hit that rock, your skull split open, and you died. Of course, I am immortal, so naturally it reawakened me and my powers." Thomas fell to his knees and cried in his hands. Lenny slapped his tentacles on Thomas's shoulders and began to rub them, as if he was trying to comfort him. "Don't feel too bad. It was gonna happen sooner or later. Sadly, you will never see your children grow up." Lenny leaned down and whispered into Thomas's ear, "But you will get to watch them die." He wrapped his tentacles around Thomas's neck and slammed him on the ground. Thomas squirmed and gagged. An orange, flame-like energy started to emanate from Lenny's eyes. The energy spread over his whole body till he was covered in it. Then it all twisted and turned and flew into Thomas's mouth like a funnel. His body violently twitched and convulsed. Then he was still as a corpse. His eyes faded from a generic dark brown to a vibrant amber. He leaped to his feet, licked his lips, and said, "Feels good to be in the driver's seat again. Let's see what I can do." Lenny dragged his body down the hallway, giggling to himself. The rest of Thomas's family was in the living room, waiting for him to recover. Sally looked up at him. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "Honey, you're up!" She didn't seem to notice anything wrong with him. Neither did Alice or Timothy. They were happy to see their father alive and healthy. Lenny stretched out his arms as if offering to hug. Sally wrapped her arms around him and began to cry. Thomas's voice echoed from inside Lenny's head. "Get your hands off her. Look, you have my body. Just let them live. Leave this timeline and forget about us." Lenny muttered to himself. "It's adorable how weak you've gotten." Sally noticed his comment. "What was that?" she asked. "I said, you're adorable, dear." Thomas spoke aloud. "Stop it! Don't listen to him! That's my family, not yours!" Lenny groaned. "Well, if you hate it that much." His arm morphed into a thick white tentacle. It shot into Sally's stomach and popped out her back. Alice and Timothy let out a blood-curdling scream. Sally coughed out blood as she fell to the floor. "No!" Thomas screamed as Lenny's left eye began to bulge. It popped out his skull and bounced off the ground. A huge orange button slowly pushed its way out of Lenny's eye socket. He bent down and said to Sally, "Sorry, babe. Guess our flame died out." He wrapped his tentacle arm around her neck and lifted her up. He began to squeeze her windpipe, then killed her with a flick of his wrist. Lenny's teeth elongated into blades. He slammed his head on Sally's chest and tore her in half. Blood spattered all over the room. Lenny set his sights on Alice and Timothy. Please spare them. And let them grow up without parents? Might as well end it all here." He lifted up his tentacle. It stretched and shifted into a blade. He raised it over his head, readying to slam it down on the unfortunate souls. He looked into their eyes. "Papa, don't hurt us. Lenny hesitated. God damn it. Fuck! This human form, it's poisoning my mind. No, it's not. We were always like this, remember? It's why we struggled to kill Emily. It's why we let that shadow live. Back when we were human, truly human, one of the things we wanted most was to have a family. Pave the way for the next generation. Lenny sighed. You're right. We once dreamed of raising our own. But no matter how much we wanted it, it would never come to us, did it? Lenny slammed his blade through the wall and onto the ground as hard as he could. No! No! You monster. Thomas lifted up his hand. Cracks were forming around it. A yellow glow emanated from underneath the fractures. They quickly spread across his entire body. We were so close. We could have finally been happy. Look at us. Do we deserve happiness? Thomas's body divided into a million tiny lights that slowly but surely died out. And besides, why be another ordinary schmuck when I can be me? No, I believe I was planning on destroying this timeline and, oh right, killing Mr. Bowman. Lenny sat atop the destroyed rubble that used to be Oculus' castle. He still had all his previous items he needed, the Vlastaran key, the vial of artificial blood, and the ember. However, the orb had been sent to an unknown universe in the explosion, but Lenny couldn't think about that right now. He was bothered by something. He couldn't stop thinking about what he had said to Thomas, that he didn't deserve happiness. Was that true? Was he really a monster? Maybe I am. So what?